What's up, roadies? My name is Larry Milburn, and this is Roadie Free Radio, your VIP pass to meet and greet the stars behind the scenes of the music and film business. All right, what's happening, roadies? Welcome to episode 150. 150, man. You got to be kidding me. 150 inspiring tales from the road and beyond. This is your host, Larry Milburn. I'm not coming at you from a barn in Northwest Connecticut. I'm coming at you from the Black Bear Americana Music Festival happening right now, Columbus Day weekend in Goshen, Connecticut. It's cold. I'm bundled up. My guest is bundled up. We're going to get to him. But first, a couple of quick announcements. As you know, I'm doing an event coming up November 16th in Washington Depot, Connecticut at the Judy Black Park in the center of town. I will be posting stuff on my website and on their website. Very excited. A Michael Bloomfield, Paul Butterfield discussion with David Dan, author of Guitar Genius, The Life and Times of Michael Bloomfield, as well as Sandy Warren, executive producer of the film Horn from the Heart, the Paul Butterfield story, and we're going to have a few special guests. So come check that out Saturday, November 16th from 5 to 7. Yeah, man, it's going to be awesome. All right, here's another special announcement for you. We have a new sponsor, my friends, and I'm very excited to announce that Boulevard Carroll Entertainment is our newest sponsor. I'm very proud to have these guys on board. It is a beautiful fit. Those of you that have been taking notes, paying attention the last few months, I had their founder, Anthony Ciaffi, on the show. Based out of New York, New Jersey, and D.C., they do event production, rehearsal spaces, backline, audiovisual, pro audio, sales, and design. They've got a space in New York, a rehearsal space, production space, 17,500 square feet. If you are an artist looking to rehearse and get ready to go on the road, you've got a show on late night, whatever you got, you need some rehearsal facilities, check them out. If you are a tech and you are looking to join up and partner with an extraordinary team, head over to boulevardcarroll.com and learn some more. A big shout out to them for sponsoring today's episode and for coming on board the Roadie Free Radio bus. With all that business aside, folks, we are sitting here today in the workshop room. Very fitting. We've got an empty stage and a couple mics up here. And it's myself and former roadie, TJ Hoffman, who has crossed the line. He's now a filmmaker with the film ROADIE, my documentary. TJ, what's happening, dude?
Good morning, Larry. This is awesome. Totally awesome.
Thank you for being here. You know, last night I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking about this morning and sitting down to talk to you, and I'm thinking, I've been saying for a while now, 150 episodes. This is my 150th episode. It's going to be great. And last night I was like, holy shit, man, 150 of these things that I've done. And, I was going to have an artist on as the 150th guest. And,
you do.
Right.
Technically.
I do have an artist. Right, exactly. You're absolutely right. But as you and I started talking, I was like, no, this makes much more sense. I've celebrated the 15 years since my short film ROADIE came out, and your film, ROADIE, my documentary, is about to come out. And I'm just super excited to have you, man. You've gone on an incredible journey, a lot of bands, a lot of miles, a lot of nights as a roadie, and I know you've done the same as a filmmaker now.
Yeah.
So how the hell are you, dude?
Yeah. I'm doing great, and thank you for inviting me up here to this beautiful location out here.
It's pretty cool, right?
In the mountains, beautiful, perfect time of year.
Yeah.
It's weird when you introduce me as a filmmaker because I still can't wrap my head around that. Right?
Yeah.
I'm the guy behind the camera. I'm behind the curtain, behind the amp.
Right.
I never wanted to be front spotlight. I always wanted to be the guy behind everything.
Yeah.
So it's weird to wrap my head around as a filmmaker, and this journey for this film, I never thought I'd get to that point to say, I'm done. I'm actually a filmmaker, because you can't say you're a filmmaker for the 6 years you're doing the film until it's actually out.
Right.
Then when it's done, then you could say, I made it. Now I'm a filmmaker, and just like question mark, like that's weird, totally weird.
Right.
But,
is that what I am?
Yeah.
But you've got the scars to prove it.
Yeah.
6 years. That's a long time to make a film.
It's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
And listen, if I had the money, I could probably do it for another 6.
Sure.
The stories and the content with these guys and our roadie family, it's never ending.
Right.
And it's amazing how I could sit down and talk to somebody for a half hour, and the next day the guy would call me and say, that was great. I had a great time talking to you, but you got to talk to this friend of mine, and you got to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally could have went around the world another 3-4 times and just kept making this thing.
Yeah.
So it's been quite a journey. It's one of the most difficult things I had to do. I funded it all myself.
Yep.
We filmed. You know, it's funny, we talk about together, you as a filmmaker, and you're filming and you're doing the audio. I mean, I probably have a dozen or 2 interviews that I did by myself. So I would set up a thing like me and you have face to face.
Yeah.
I'd have 2 cameras on either side of me, try to turn the screen so I can see.
Yep.
Worry about the audio levels.
Oh, yeah.
And there's about 2 dozen that I lost. Either it was out of focus,
Yep.
or I lost the audio.
Yep.
But and I'm trying to conduct the interview at the same time.
Right.
So it was quite a learning process, and it taught me the value of an audio engineer while filming. You know, a DP. You know, the right lenses and somebody focusing on the shots and getting in close. And
Sure.
it was it made me look at things a whole different level.
Yeah.
And that's when I had to step back and say, all right, stop wasting time and money, and let's build a team. To really make this film and not to lose anything that I want to capture with my people that I was interviewing.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I just did a 2-day shoot up in Woodstock. Same thing, man. And it was for a client, but they don't have a lot of money. So it's like me and 2 cameras and the audio, and we're in a farm. So like, you know, you walk like 300 yards. It's like, oh, this would be a good shot over here. And you get there and you get set up. And you're like, fuck, I got to go back. Can I just give me 2 minutes? I got to go back and get a battery or whatever the hell it is, you know?
Simple shit like that.
Simple shit like that. Or, you know, you're in the middle of an interview, right? And you're just watching the battery level on something just draining down. You're like, come on, just make it, get to the point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, but you did it. You survived. And so before we jump into the film, just give folks, in your own words, because I know you've been a tour manager, production manager, a tech, a roadie, whatever. I know there's a great sequence in the beginning of your film where you guys break down tech versus roadie.
Right.
And so we'll talk about that, see which side of that coin you land on. But just break down your career in a nutshell for us, and then we'll dive deep into some stuff.
Yeah, listen, real quick. This whole thing started basically. I started to write a book in the mid 2000s, and I'm not a musician. I'm not a technically skilled as far as any instruments go, but I was fortunate enough to land a job in this business, and I got to tour with Kiss for a year, right? So people ask, how did you do that? You're not a musician. Late 80s, started with a local band, and they were pretty popular, a hair band, and it was just basically going, drinking some beer, and just listening to some live music. As the band got bigger, they needed help with the bigger, more gear, right? So now it's just not 2 Marshall amps, now they got 4.
Right.
Now the bass rig's not just one side, as he's going in stereo, 2 sides. The drum kit got a little bit bigger, right? So, Tej, come with us, help us load this gear into this club, and you could drink for free all night. Sold, like easy, piece of cake.
Yeah.
Right. Then I went and got a van. So instead of them renting a van, I was like, look, give me an extra $50. I'll move your gear. I'll load it for you. Drink for free. Make $50. It's a winner. Win-win.
Yeah.
Fast forward a couple of years, I went to audio engineering school, Sam Ash Music Institute in New Jersey. I was in audio class, and I was interning at a studio, Trax East in South River, New Jersey. And the bass player that I work for, Steve Evitz, is the chief engineer in that studio at the time. He was doing a new record in 1992 with M.O.D, Method of Destruction, the Rhythm of Fear record with Billy Milano. So Steve says, look, it's really pro here. You got to come check this out. Sit on these sessions. This is where you want to be right now. Cool. Got along with the band, got along with the guys, got along with Billy. Started working on a little bit of guitars, helping Timmy McMurtry out, doing some stuff. And then 2 months later, Billy says, hey, we like what you do in the studio. Want to go to Europe with us? Boom. Okay.
Why not?
Now, I don't know nothing, right? I did some local gigs with 92. You know, I was 23.
Yeah.
24, right there.
Right.
And, I worked for these other bands, but loading gear. rebuild an amp at that point in time? Like, no, I'll move it from the trunk of your car or my van
Yeah.
to the stage.
Right.
Plug it in, figure it out. Little by little, you get to little technology and you start to pay attention to stuff. And look, at that time, it was all about having a good time with me.
Right.
I was a drinker. I loved the road.
So this was not anything as a kid that you were like, oh man, I want to go on the road with a band, or I want to be in a band, or any of that stuff. And how do I get in? It was really just like, this is kind of cool. It seems like an adventure. I get to drink for free.
I fell into it. Basically, that's how it started, and it was fun. It was all my friends, and it was the late '80s. It was hair bands. It was it was tight jeans, and it was 80s pop rock. American Angel was the band I was working with.
Right.
They were like kind of neck and neck with Skid Row,
Yep.
right? And that hair bands, and there was girls everywhere. It was fun, and all my friends would come, and the music was great. They were really talented. What am I going to do on a Friday night? Am I going to go to the pub and spend $100,
right,
or go work with these guys, make 50, and still catch the same buzz?
Yep.
So it was a win-win for me.
Sure.
But as it started to progress, and I started to work for, I'm going to step it up a level. Now I'm going on tour as backline tech with Billy Milano. I got to learn a little more. I got to pay attention. It's not just a big party on the road.
Right.
And Billy guided me a little bit on the tour management side and taught me about the money and the that kind of stuff. But as far as stuff going on stage, I started to pay attention to more of the technical aspect.
Yeah.
Like, all right, why am I getting this feedback? All right, let me work on this guitar tone. Let me do a couple different things so I can really step up my game, because this is really cool. Our first show in 1992 was the Marquee in London. And we packed up, a month before, we packed up all our backline, most of the backline, drums and essentials, and put it on a slow boat with rocket cargo, and the gear met us there in London. So 2 days before at the Marquee, where it's a pallet, shrink wrapped, I got to unload everything, check for damages, start setting up, that kind of stuff. It didn't hit me at that time on that tour. Later on, I look back at some of the home footage I have, I'm like, fuck, the Marquee in London, like, what happened in this facility,
crazy,
in this venue,
yeah,
was nuts.
It's funny. I was just going to ask, like, were you conscious at all of the fact of like where you were and the show that could happen there and the shows that had happened there and everything?
Not a clue. Not a clue.
It's
Again,
just a gig, kid.
Okay, so we flew to London, and it was, all right, where's the local pub?
Right.
Let's start getting our party on. Let's go.
Sure.
We're on tour, right? Sex, drugs, rock and roll. Like, this is everything that you think what the road is going to be.
Right.
And I'm by myself for them. So I'm just basically
setting up. You're the only guy.
I'm the only guy. I'm setting up and plugging in.
So you're drinking for every other imaginary crew member that should have been there.
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
When you go to production office, you get per diems.
Yes.
So I would get per diems for the 4 guys in the band and the 6 guys in the road crew.
Yes.
There's Vito and Charlie and Three Fingers Louie.
Right.
And it was all going to my pocket. Right. It was all extra money for the pub later.
Yeah.
But it didn't hit me till many years later of the places that I got to visit and set up a stage and really learn what had happened in these iconic venues in the 90s. And now, with the whole influx of Live Nation, AEG buying all these mom and pop type of venues, they're not around anymore.
Right.
At that show at the Marquee, for instance, some guy, Paul Di'Anno's backstage. Okay, great. I got drums to wrap up. Like the next band, like I'm busy. Like, don't bother me. I want to get this done so I can go on the bus and drink.
Right.
Because back then there was no ice, so you get the beer warm. So it took 2 hours for the beer to get cold. So while I'm loading out, getting my shit together, the beer's getting cold. So I got to hurry up and get on the bus. Paul Di'Anno. I don't know. Okay, take my video camera. We go backstage. I'm just trying to get some antics. Yeah, Paul Di'Anno. Yeah. Okay, great.
Right.
Took me a month later to figure who Paul Di'Anno was. Oh wait, holy shit, that's Iron Maiden. Like, oh my God, what a jerk I am. But
right.
It's just part of the stories, right?
And you were conscious enough, though, too, to bring a video camera.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like,
good thing you did. Now you got great footage for the film.
Yeah, I mean, it was a journey. Listen, I got an atlas when I got the itinerary of the first 40 days of my first time going to Europe.
Yeah.
Of where we were going to different countries. It wasn't just Germany. You land in London, and you go from London, you make this big loop around, you hit all the countries, as many as you can. hardly any days off because you just spend money. You know, it was a budget. I think I was making $100 a day, you know, or 500 a week. You know, Saturdays and Sundays were free basically.
Right.
I didn't care. I get to see the world for free.
Sure.
You know, the per diems were, you know, $5 a day maybe, but the venue paid you
$5 a day.
maybe, yeah, 5, 10. It was a tight budget, but what am I going to say? No, like, no, give me more. Then just get somebody else to do it.
Sure.
So I took advantage of the opportunity that I have.
Yeah.
You know, I never ever in my whole life wanted a handout. I don't want anybody to give me anything.
Yeah.
Give me an opportunity. Let me prove myself.
Yep.
And you'll get 100% of TJ.
Let me just jump ahead real quick. So you started the film 8 years ago, is that what you said?
So it's weird. It started, it even started a little long ago, but it started as a reality show.
Okay.
Like 06, 07, there was these terms in Hollywood, in LA, there was a writer's strike was going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? So
I was
this
there
new
for that.
thing, reality TV is going to come out.
Right.
So as I'm writing my book about this kid from New Jersey who knows nothing about instruments and I'm not a skilled musician, to go and my career 20 years later to share a stage with the biggest band in the world, Kiss, like people wanted to know that story.
Sure.
So I'm not doing anything at the time. I'm playing a lot. I'm working construction work, playing a lot of golf. I started to write a book.
Yep.
My buddy in LA calls me. He's like, TJ, stop the book. There's this reality thing. Like, I'm going to give you a couple ideas. Go get a camera. We're gonna build this thing. I have an idea.
Yeah.
So that started as that, and it started to grow. Friends of mine in LA says, "Wow, you're pretty good at this. This is really cool." And then we did like another concept with horses, and I started to build these other reality shows.
Okay.
Getting back to ROADIE, we pitched it to LA. It was going places. Everybody loved it. All these production companies loved it. I was in production, pitch meeting number 4, and the meeting I had an hour ago, they're texting me like, come back, we want to talk to a deal, we want to make a deal. Like, my head got so big.
Of course.
You know, like, this is great. Okay, we finally made it. Like, this is going to be huge. It got to a level in Hollywood where musicians and television banged heads, right? So you can't shoot this guy with next to this guitar player who's got separate management with this amplifier in the same shot. You got to have separate. It was like nuts, right? So again, on my dime, flying back and forth to LA, it got crazy. I stopped. We got out of the deal. I just shelved it all. Fast forward a couple years, now I got all this footage, all this work that I did, besides the money that I put out. I'm in California with my friends. We're between tours, and it was, what are you going to do now? And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, just put all this shit together and make a documentary. Now, this is like, I don't want to know. It's 2012, 2013, where I really started to take it serious and say, documentary. And, 6 years ago, there's a third, I should even say a lot less documentaries than are out now, right?
Sure.
Everybody's a documentary filmmaker now.
Yeah.
Back then, it was like a new thing. All right, kind of cool, right? Then 20 Feet from Stardom came out. I'm like, all right, now this is what I need to do.
Yep.
It won all kinds of awards. It got made a lot of money. The guy sold it for a lot of money.
Yep.
So now those wheels are spinning in my head. All right, let me monetize on everything that I've done.
Yeah.
Let me tell this story.
Right.
Right.
And at the time, was it your story that you were going to tell? Were you
No.
always conscious? No, or you were always going to tell, or you set out to tell the story of the road, I guess, or of the roadie, or what it means to be a roadie or a tech, whatever you want to call
Right.
it. We're
So
just going to call it roadie for now.
Right.
Right. But somewhere in there, you shifted, and you decided, I mean, I got to put me in here.
No, totally wrong.
Okay.
You fucked that all up, Larry.
Fucked it all.
So, yes, it did shift. I had this vision, 6-7 years ago about what a documentary should be, like a Ken Burns type of thing, right? You want to take somebody that knows nothing about the road and live entertainment, and you want to educate the viewer.
Yeah.
Right. So I also wanted to educate the viewer, but I wanted to make it fun, and I wanted them to be interested, and I want them to walk away. That you could sit on the couch, you could sit with your kids, you could watch it. And at the end of it, you can go, wow, I didn't know that. That was really cool.
Right.
And it gives you a different perspective on a live entertainment industry. So when you're going to pay $150 for a ticket at a show, now you're going to start to understand where all that $150 goes to, right? So it's not going in the band's pocket.
That's part of why I do the show.
Right.
So people can see, like, wow.
You get it. You must know something about the roadie world before.
I know
it sounds
a little
like
bit.
educated.
Yeah, I've done a couple interviews prior to this one.
So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to educate the viewer, right?
Yeah.
And make them feel at home and appreciate these guys, us guys, our family, right? Because nobody gets paid. It's a somewhat of a thankless job for the most part.
You're making $5 a day.
So started to do interviews, started to call friends and family first, my peers in the business, whoever I can get close enough to either, I had a friend in Orange County, California, who was helping me with my West Coast interviews. And then I have my friend Andy Stroll, he's the other director, producer, editor for this film on the East Coast. And all my footage from the years, my home 8mm footage and mini DV footage, little by little, I was feeding him the information because I didn't want it to be my story.
Right.
I wanted to be able to be the big shot producer. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the first guy that's going to tell the story, and nobody knows about it. There's no other roadie documentaries out there. It's going to be big. It's going to be $1 million budget. I'm going to make $5 million. Like, it was crazy thoughts as a younger
I got 'em.
dreamer. Right. So as I'm feeding Andy my home footages, and we're basically using that as placeholders, he says, let me interview you, right? Because you know what you want the film to be. So let me interview you with some questions, and we'll use those as placeholders until we get somebody else to say that. All right, that's going to help us tie the knot, right? So unlike your movie, I have no script, right? It's a doc. I have an outline. We built chapters of how it should structurally flow, and trying to follow the documentary, the filmmaker's Bible, right? How it's got to have the arc and this and that, and the protagonist and antagonist. Like, fuck me, it's a documentary. I want to do a little bit something different. So Andy filmed me in 2014. In my construction office, just random questions. Didn't think anything of it. Then he interviewed me one other time as we're building this film, and the threads starting to tie together, and how he's going to edit with what we have, and then we can kind of see what we're missing and who I need to talk to that's important, and see where it goes from there. And then we were about 85% there done. He says, "Teach, we got to do one more interview." And as this is going, he's showing me little clips, and I'm still in the cut. And he's got footage of 1992, and he's showing this. I'm like, what's that for? He's like, just hold on. Wait till it's done. Don't judge yet. Just look at it and think about it. But shut the fuck up. Let me do my job, because I'm not an editor. Okay, I trust you. He's a great storyteller. We did the last interview with me at the Paramount Theater in Asbury Park. My very good friend Jason Dermer, who runs all the production in Asbury Park, New Jersey, gave us some access, helped me out.
Was this 2018?
This was 18. This was last year.
Okay, so this is the interview that's mainly featured. It's in like black and white.
Correct. Correct. And when he said, bring some road cases and let's do this, and now I'm like, all right, there's gonna be me in it. I gotta swallow that and accept it. He put the cut together and basically told my story, and then we salt and peppered everybody in between. Still, like, I can't wrap my head around me on camera. I'm not used to that. Very weird. To this day, Larry, I'm not used to it. I don't like it somewhat. I showed it to a couple of friends, people that I trust in the business.
Oh, no. Before you start showing it to some people, now you see the cut, and you see your story. You see your life that was on the road, that got you out of the road, unfold in front of you. What was that like?
It was very strange, very weird. Again, I didn't want to be on that side of the camera, but it made sense. So I flashed back 6 months, and I tried to get in Andy's head, like, okay, now I know why he wanted me to do this. Now I know why he wanted footage of this European tour with Agnostic Front in '97, and why he wanted me to reach out to this guy. It made sense.
Was there a part of you that was like, no, this is not the movie I want to make?
To this day, I say that, Larry. To this day.
But it's about these guys. I want to make it about these guys.
Yeah,
right?
Look,
and then there you are.
And I say it in the
warts
movie,
and all.
I'm not a lifer. I'm not. A lot of my friends that I met even on the Kiss tour in 2000. They're still out there as a full-time gig.
Right.
That's not me. I say in the film again, I was blessed to do it part-time for a long period of time.
Yep.
And I got to experience every level of the van tours, sleeping in the floor of a van and showering in truck stops, and then a tour bus, and then, you know.
It's not you. You say that it's not you, but it is you because you paid your dues.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you did those things. You know, you slept on the floor, you slept in a van, all this kind of shit, made $5 a day. You learned, you failed, you succeeded, you bottomed out. So it is you.
Yeah, essentially it is.
You know, you paid your dues.
Coming from the guy behind the curtain,
Right.
It's just weird for me to wrap my head around. And
Sure.
I'm adjusting slowly to it. And again, I was showing it to some people that I respect just to say, what's your opinion of this cut? And most of the guys that I showed it to came back to me, and their first thing was, we want more TJ. And I'm like, that's not the answer I wanted, right? I didn't want to hear that. But okay, if that's what's going to make the story, forget about valuable monetarily.
Right.
But if it's going to make the story valuable for the viewer and to get it, all right, I'm down.
Yeah.
And at the time, you know, look, I made a lot of mistakes filming, like I said, with the actual camera. I made a lot of mistakes spending money that I probably shouldn't have. I went through those pains.
Yeah.
I didn't want to make that mistake again. So if the general consensus was, this is really good, it tells the story, you hit all the areas, and, you know, 30% of the film is about my recovery.
Right.
And it wakes people up also about, you know, drug and alcohol abuse and that kind of stuff, whether it was on the road or at a local bar, right? So I was kind of convinced. You know, I don't want to say Andy Stroll, I don't want to say he tricked me.
Right.
But he convinced me that this was the best thing, the best story that we can tell.
Yep.
And that's where we're at, Larry. That's it.
That's it. That's what I got. Okay, we're done. Did you, in the time that you were out on the road, late 80s, early mid 90s zone, right? What were the mechanisms? Were there mechanisms in place to help someone like you struggling with addiction?
No.
Did people talk about it?
At the time, no. So let's flash back to early 90s, right? There's no cell phones for the common person. There's no internet, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no laptops, basically, right? Some of the people had them, but for us guys on the road making a couple dollars a day, there's nothing. You roll into a club in Germany, backstage, and there's a cooler full of beer.
Yeah.
That's how you start your day. There's nothing to do backstage but have beers, string guitars, talk shit with your friends, maybe sneak out for a couple hours to go see something in in the location you're at, and then just go back to the club and start drinking again. That was it. Nowadays, there's more AA meetings backstage. There's Skyping. Everybody's on the internet. Everybody's Wi-Fi. It's a totally different element than when it was when I started.
Right. And there are organizations like Over the Bridge and whatnot that are out there helping people get through some of this stuff on the road. What was that bottom out moment for you? Was it on the road?
It wasn't. I was home.
Okay.
It wasn't.
You were still doing the job.
I was part-time.
Yeah.
Right. And basically I got lucky enough to tour with my friends, Ignite from Orange County, California, more punk rock. And it was like, hey, we're going to go do 3 weeks in Europe, but we're going to take a day off in Budapest. We're going to take a day off in Austria, and we're going to take a day off here. You know, it's going to be like a vacation fun thing. We're going to fly to Mallorca, Spain for 2 days. And
nice.
So it would work. I'm with my friends, having a blast, and then we got to see more of the world that I didn't get to see before.
Yep.
So it became like a fun type of adventure thing for me.
Sure.
So I was doing that for a while.
Okay.
You know, and then for Skid Row, part-time, doing some fly dates on weekends.
Okay.
I wasn't a full-time roadie for them.
Yep.
Towards the, after I left them in 2000, so it was like 2005, 6, 7, I was just doing fly dates and filling in for another couple of the other techs that were out there.
Okay. So it sounds like, if I get this right, that for you, while the actual literal road started to slow down a little bit, the road life at home did not. That kind of kept going.
Yeah, it didn't stop.
Yeah.
It didn't stop. And I'm an extremist. Like, I want to go full tilt. If I can't do something 110%, I don't want to do it.
So weird. I don't get that vibe from you at all. But weren't there other roadies? Weren't there older roadies or anybody along the way that you possibly looked at and thought, that guy's got it figured out or she's got it figured out. Like, well, maybe there's another way to do this. Or maybe you're 25 and you just don't give a fuck and you're like, it's just a party. This isn't going to be my life. Who knows what my life's going to be? But there's a tasty beer. Let's go.
Yeah, that was part of it.
That was it.
It's funny because my favorite podcast, my favorite interview you ever did was with Mr. Ken Van Druten.
Oh, yeah.
So Pooch was Kiss's front of house in 2000. And that tour, working for Skid Row, Doc McGee was the manager of Kiss and Skid Row. So we were like the stepchild kids,
yeah.
right? We could do no wrong. We would never get thrown off because Doc was our manager, same thing. But we were the misfits of the tour. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But there were moments where I just really, coming from the audio engineering background, right? And I went to analog. I went to school for analog, 2-inch tape and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I went on the road, came home off the road, tried to go back to the studio. There's this new thing called Pro Tools, digital. I'm anti-digital. Like, fuck computers. I don't want any of that. I want the 2-inch tape. I want that feel.
Yeah.
I started to watch Ken a little bit and started to figure out how do I get to be a guy like that? Right? This guy's got it together. Besides the gift of his ear, the knowledge that's in that guy's head is just amazing.
Yeah.
And I tried to latch on as best I could to a guy like that without getting in his way and being one of those little pain in the ass kids tugging on his pant legs, every show. But those guys, Ken Van Druten, Robert Long was their Patrick Whitley was their production manager at the time. Uh-huh. Robert Long was the stage manager, who now is Robert Long does their production manager. He's been around a long time. Those are the guys I started to really pay attention to. I'm like, all right, what do I got to do to be that guy? Mm-hmm. And that's when I started to shy away from the liquor a little bit and spend some percentage of my time paying attention to these pros. Mm-hmm. Because if I wanted to keep doing this career, I need to step it up. Yeah. I'm going to be this drunken misfit, and sooner or later, somebody's not going to put up my shit no more. Somebody's going to realize that I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with this guitar, right? Besides hitting a couple of chords, and get caught.
Right.
So I started to pay attention to that and to learn more of that.
But you say that, but I've interviewed several people and talked to several techs, drum techs, bass techs, whatever, instrument tech, who are like, hey, I'm not the best musician, but I can get this thing in shape the way my artist wants it, and that's enough. Right. So maybe you could have kept going. Probably.
But
today, things do change. I mean, with different systems and stuff like that, you got to get a little bit more.
The technology is nuts today. I could never go get a guitar tech job for a band right now, not knowing what these guys know today. Right. Yeah. So back then it was Marshall amps and plug stuff in, and as a roadie, you find a way to get it done, right? It's like that old Marine Corps thing. You improvise, adapt, overcome. You figure it out. So I'm with M.O.D. in 94. The amp blows, right? I must have did something with the 220, 110. Right. Don't know what I'm doing, but something blew. I got to fix it. So, you go find a local guy. You find a local stagehand. Where's the Radio Shack around here, right? You start pulling up. You buy tons of fuses, tons of tubes, and little by little you replace what you might. And I fixed it. Right. I was like the hero of the tour, sweating the whole time. There's going to be no gig. Yeah. But in the middle of Austria, getting it done is what the job was. Yeah. Whatever it takes. Right. And I did that, and I proved myself, over and over with different bands. And that just leads to TJ on the road. He's not the best tech guy, but he'll get it done. He's not afraid to work, and he's not a punisher. Mm-hmm. I can live with people. Right. I'm not going to be that guy where you're a good hang. I'm a good hang. I'm fun, right? So that was part of it too, right? And then little by little, that one tour would end, and my friends would Belgium and say, "Hey, we're doing 2 weeks. TJ, can you come with us?" Fuck yeah, let's go. Let's do this. Rad. I'm in. Yeah. And then they're friends, and I just built this little tiny knit community of guys that knew my potential, where I can go, and that was it. Yeah. It was fun. And then you realized it wasn't so fun. Listen, the grass is always greener, right? Everybody wants the bet. It's better over there. Look, we just came from California. My good friend Brett Rasmussen from Ignite just got married at the Coachella grounds, the Polo Club, right? Beautiful in the desert. And I love California. I love the air. I'm an ocean guy. I love all that scene. I love the chill vibe coming from working in Manhattan all these years. Yeah. But you know what? Driving up here and seeing the change of the seasons in the fall, I had flashbacks of being on a tour bus in Saskatchewan, Canada. Who the fuck was Saskatchewan? But we're traveling and being blessed to see the different parts of the world and the change of the seasons, and you got a different thick skin on the East Coast, right? It builds your character, it makes you who you are.
Yeah.
Same thing with being on the road.
Right.
Those experiences from playing CBGBs to going to play Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Those things build you who you are. And I'm so blessed and so lucky to be able to do that. And just driving up here, looking at the water and the leaves and the seasons change and going to this cool ass festival in the mountains, right? And it's bluegrass folk kind of music,
yeah,
which is something I would never just go on my own to see and do.
Right.
I hardly go to any shows anymore unless my friends are playing.
Right.
Sometimes I'll just go have coffee with them for sound check and then get out of Dodge before the show comes on because I'm done with music. But it builds who you are, and I love that part. And I love where I came from those experiences.
Yeah,
I'm very blessed and thankful.
Tell me if you had this experience, and if you did, how you dealt with it. You know, when I talk to people about being on this show, you know, now 150 episodes in, I hope that there's a reputation out there of like, you know, I'm not out for gossip, right, and all that kind of stuff. So as you started talking to people and saying, I'm going to tell this story, and yes, it's my story, but it's also your story, right, about you being on the road and all this kind of stuff. Did you have that sort of side-eye glance of like, listen, man, I'm still working, can't divulge too much, don't want to divulge anything. It's a close-knit group, and if you're in, you're in. But if you betray, you're out.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
100%.
And I talked to Richard Bennett about this from Load In Magazine, you know, and we both talk about feeling so humbled by the fact, I mean, Richard goes out and he does it. You know, he's been touring with a couple of bands this last year, and you did it. I didn't do it, really, but I just love it, and I was a musician, and I sometimes try to still be a musician as much as that
But you
done.
get it.
But I get it. And I'm not in it to talk about, you know, the lines of blow and stuff like that. I tell people, listen, you want to tell me about hanging out with David Lee Roth and stuff? Great, that's awesome. I'll listen all day because who doesn't want to hear that shit? But that's not the point of the show. So I'm curious for you how you went about handling some of that with people. I mean, these were your friends also.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's funny.
And you're not making like here's a little. I mean, it is an indie film, but you weren't trying necessarily to keep it an indie film. You want to tell this story. You want to get it out there. So
so it's funny you say that because the phone call started with, dude, I'm doing this film, and everybody that I know, my friends, they trust me with the camera. Same thing when I was trying to build this reality show. If it's me with the camera, they know that they could trust me. And if they're having a bad day in Guitar World, I'm pulling back. I'm going to find drama somewhere else. It's so easy to find on the road. It's right. So it's easy. So they trust me. So when I said I'm going to do these, I want to interview you for this project I got. Would you do it and talk about our experiences on the road? Yeah, TJ, no problem. We're good. Whatever you want. Boom, fly to Nashville, fly to California, sit down. Boom, the red lights go on. Nah, TJ, I don't rather talk about that. Okay, cool. Like I totally respect that. I don't never want to cross that line.
Right.
Like I would never get to be where I am to have the opportunity to film somebody, being that guy that's going to sell out and put like a really smutty type of shitty film out, expose people. I'll be blackballed.
Right.
I'll never have any friends.
Right.
So that's part of where my story of drinking and drugging came in. I said, look, nobody wants to talk about it. I'm all about it. I'm in 12-step recovery programs. I can't keep what I have unless I give it away. Right. So I'll talk about it. I'll talk about staying up all night. I'll talk about whatever I got to talk about to make that part of the story.
Yep.
Because you can't avoid that element of the sex, drugs, and rock and roll on the road.
Right.
The stigmata of roadie is just that. It's partying and what goes on behind the black curtain.
Yeah.
So that's part of where my story made it into the film to begin with.
Sure.
And then it just kind of evolved.
And that gave you that provided the license, I think, probably for everybody else to feel like, all right, this guy's going there.
Yeah.
I'm going to go there.
Yeah. If you want to talk again, you want to talk about it? Cool. I'm down. I would love that.
Yeah.
If you don't, that's cool too.
Yeah. Biggest surprise for you making this thing?
Wow, Larry, there's so many. There's so many. So, as a first-time filmmaker, but you want to nail it, and I have high expectations of myself, and I have high standards, and I didn't. It's indie film because it's me.
Yeah.
But I don't want to cut corners. I don't want to be cheesy. I didn't want it to be that kind of film. So surprises were left and right all the time, and besides the story and the plot taking twists and turns and going in different directions, the people that I talked to, Aidan Mullen is in the film. He's now with Def Leppard, but before that he was with Peter Frampton. So we went to Nashville, and Aidan's a great guy, and we talking just Peter Frampton for like 4 hours in Frampton's rehearsal studio. I get to hold the acoustic guitar that he wrote. All the hits on that acoustic guitar on my birthday, no less. It was such a gift. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And we're wrapping up, and we're at the end of the interview, and we're about to fly back to New Jersey, and he tells me he was on the bus when Cliff Burton was killed.
Wow.
I was like, whoa, like now I get goosebumps.
Yeah. So
that opened up a whole nother conversation. So that was a surprise.
Did you start rolling again?
We set up, and you have to watch the film to see that, Larry. But yes, we did. But he opened up, and that was one surprise, right? So talking to these guys and getting in their head and feeling their emotion.
Yeah.
That's part of why I do what I do with this film and these projects, is because I want to humanize this machine that we call ROADIE.
Yeah.
Right? These guys they're just like us. They're just working stiffs. They're America's blue collar army that makes this shit happen.
Yep.
But they have families and wives, and they miss birthday parties and all kinds of different things that we take for granted every day.
Yeah.
And as you talk to these guys, and you really get to know them personally, and you know their story and why they're on the road and why they're doing what they do, besides for their love of passion and of music and that kind of stuff, what they're sacrificing and giving up on the other side of the table it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and all of that, yes. And then I always go to like the incredible circumstance that turns somebody from from being 22 or whatever it is, not knowing where their life's going to go, to, hey man, you know something about speakers, or you used to work in a record store. Can you come help my band set up this thing? And 35 years later, you're front of house for, Kiss.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah,
like,
no, it's weird how
I go
that
back to
happens.
I was just telling something the other day about Greg Looper, monitor engineer for, the Almonds, and ultimately Tom Petty. Out of the Air Force, he's got this weird blood condition, doesn't know what he was going to do. He's at a bar, he comes out on the sidewalk, and literally his buddy drove up and was like, hey, Greg, dude, welcome back, man. Well, you know something about whatever. Can you come to this party? Dude ends up with the Allman Brothers, and then he ends up with Petty. It's like, and there's everybody's story that I've had on the show has some fucking weird twist like that just all of a sudden takes them into another thing. Or, like we were talking about earlier at SIR, I told you I did an interview at SIR with Randy Brown. And, just being in the studio in a space like that, a rehearsal space, a band comes through and you're just lucky enough to get them coffee and just be the house studio guy to make sure everything's okay. But you're cool, you're a good hang. And the end of the run, while they're packing up, the tour manager comes over and was like, hey man, the band really liked you. We're going out. Can you be back here tonight? We're leaving. Oh, okay. And they happen to have a record that's charting, and then all of a sudden you're on tour for 2 years playing all these amazing places.
Yeah.
It's incredible to me.
Put yourself in that element, in that environment, and good things are going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? We're in
if you're solid.
If you're like,
if you're a solid person. I mean, and I don't mean solid like you've got alcoholic tendencies or whatever it is, right? It's just like you got to show up. You got to do the job. So that's a perfect segue for what do you think, having been in it part-time, well, you call it part-time, but you did it, dude. Having done it, having made this film, having these friends who are still in it, what do you think makes for a long career as a roadie, as a tech, whatever the hell you want to call it, in the industry, as a live touring professional?
Yeah.
What do you think makes for a long career?
Put all technical ability aside. You don't want to be a punisher. You have to get along with other people. You have to live in a bus with other people. You have to work hard. Don't complain. And get the job done. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. Again, I didn't have the best skills in the world. TJ, give me a lead. I could mess around a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was never, we're going to reprogram this ADA to get this tone, I never had to do that.
Right.
But it was more or less that I can get the job done, And I can go on a bus and go drive across country with guys without driving them nuts. I didn't keep my laundry on the floor.
Right.
Simple things like that give you longevity, and you get a reputation of dude's solid, and we need him on the road. He'll get the job done.
Right. Then on top of that, if you start learning the skills and going deeper, right. Then you start ensuring even more longevity and necessity. People need you because you've got that skill.
Right. So take away the guitar tech, drum tech, right?
Yeah.
Now, somebody's got to get all those techs together, and then a stage manager, right? You don't need to play an instrument to be a stage manager, right? Then you go one more level now as production manager. Now you're putting lights, audio, carpentry to carps. You're putting all those guys together, right? Like Opie, who's huge. He's a legend.
Yeah.
You get a guy like that. Now I don't know what his musical background is, but anybody with a little bit of leadership skills, some brains, and some organizational skills can get to that level of just being that guy. Yeah.
How many guys and gals that you've come across have a military background?
A lot.
A lot, right? It's crazy.
A lot. Yeah, a lot have military background. A lot have a high school education or less that are amazing musicians. And, part of my interview process, one of my last questions is like, when do you call at the end? When's quits? And there's, numerous guys have said, Tej, it's when I'm in a box underneath. I can't do anything else.
Right.
I don't have a high school education. This is all I know. And I'm making pretty decent money right now, so my wife and kids can eat and have a house. And if I don't tour and do this, where am I going? What am I going to do? Work at Target or, go to retail?
Right.
I don't have any of that background.
Yeah.
And this is going back many years. Now it's a little bit different with the education in the schools. And not that there's ROADIE University, but there's other avenues that you can go to
start.
Yeah.
To start.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. There's such a, I'm sure you've talked about this with your buddies, but there's such a, there's a line. People have a lot of feelings about
there is.
You went to school, or you learned it out here, And I think from where I sit, the takeaway is like, sure, if you can afford to go to school, go to fucking school. Why not? Do it, but just know that when you first step on the bus after school, you don't know anything. Right.
It's good to know what XLR is and neutral, positive. Those essentials are huge to know.
Yeah.
But again, once you pack your bag and step on that bus, and while you're getting your road legs on, it's a whole nother world. There's no school that teaches you how to be a good roadie.
Right. Probably the best way to do it is to get into some small club with a shitty PA and start there.
We've heard that. How many times have you heard it too? 150 episodes in, right? Everybody starts somewhere small and little. But look, that's how I learned. I had a little 4-track Tascam recorder in the late 80s, right? Then you go to the 12, and you build up. And then it was, ADATs, and little by little you advance. And it's just, that console, that channel on the board, whether it's a 12-channel mixer or a 128-channel mixer, it does the same shit.
Right.
You learn that channel, piece of cake. So people are like, wow, you know how to use that? Yeah, I know how to use that.
Right.
They don't know it's the same fucking thing 128 times over.
Right.
So, I did... I don't want to say bullshit my way through it, but I never said I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I said, I can do that, or I'll get it done. And then I went and figured it out. And that makes a good roadie too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just getting it done.
Yeah. When's it coming out, man?
So we're looking right now at a fall release, which is close. We're shooting for the holidays.
Okay.
Besides making the film, the second hardest part of this whole thing is getting all my legalities and my deliverables in place.
Sucks.
Because you forget.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that picture. Shit. All right, let me go find that guy. And the guy wants all this money. It's like, dude, now. So we're going through that final process of that.
Where's the premiere going to be?
We did some festival premieres last year.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Where the actual big premiere is going to be, I don't know. The problem is I have so many good friends, East Coast, West Coast, even in Germany, some of the guys that made the film. I don't know.
Let's go.
I don't know. I know. Listen, I would love to.
Let's get a bus. Let's get
That's
sponsored,
next,
right?
Next.
And we'll take this fucker on tour.
That's next. So, so launching the film in fall of 2019, holidays. And then we're I'm pretty excited
Listen,
to announce.
I don't want to bust your balls. Fall is quickly coming to an end. As you can judge up here, it's in the 40s.
Listen, if I tell you I'm going to have it up by Thanksgiving and I missed the date, I'm an asshole. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put my
trying to pin you down, man. Let's go.
Listen, nobody wants this thing more done and out than myself and my fiance Stephanie. Like, she's tired of hearing this shit. Like, get it out. And we already started some soft talks, pre-production. I'm going to be hosting a show out of Nashville. Where I am taking more viewers and more people behind the scenes, out behind the backstage, and exposing them to more of the film.
Cool.
So that's going to happen in 2020.
That's awesome, man.
So yeah, there's a lot of things happening right now in this roadie world.
So, as you did your research, going back and thinking like a show, TV show, or a movie or something like that, let's break down what is out there about roadies. What are the films?
Well,
what do we got?
The best one out there is yours. The short film.
No, many people don't think so, by the way. I've seen the comments.
Meatloaf, it was fun, Larry. It was fun. And listen, I got to hand it to you.
It was meant to be fun.
Yeah, I got to hand it to you. It was good, man. It took a lot of balls to do that. Put yourself out there, and you did it. You're a filmmaker.
Look at me now.
Yeah. And you were we're in the filmmaker club now, right?
That's right. I'm in.
Meatloaf did it.
Yep.
Right, with Blondie and Alice Cooper, and back then in the day, which was fun. That was a fun little quirky thing.
Yep.
You know, Cameron Crowe did it with the Showtime thing.
Yep.
Kevin Lyman did it. You know, Warped Tour Roadies, the TV thing.
Right. That was an MTV deal.
That
was a reality show, right? Okay, Fuse. Okay,
right. Cool. It was cool.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
You know, my concept was basically, Deadliest Catch on a tour bus.
Okay.
So I want to do 5 different bands, cross-pollinate genres.
Yep.
Introduce different genres to different people, and again, they're my friends, so they trust me with the camera.
Right.
I don't want to make it shitty, smutty. This is like no MTV Jersey Shore type of stuff.
Yeah.
With all due respect to my friends that did that film, that show.
Right.
But that's not what I'm about. I don't want to do that. You know, there's going to be no heroin addict in the dressing room. There's going to be no hookers backstage. It's not like that. This is true,
wholesome roadie fun.
This is true reality. This is what happens. And
I
don't need to write a script to make, what to tell the story of what goes on.
Right.
On the bus backstage.
Right.
The drama is there easily.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk about Madonna rolling into Madison Square Garden with 8 tour buses and 16 tractor trailers getting into Midtown Manhattan. Right. Nobody knows that you can't park the trucks or buses. Everything's got to be parked in Jersey.
Cross-load.
Cross-load. Yeah. There's so much of that stuff that's awesome storytelling.
Yeah.
It's easy to do.
I didn't know about that shit until I went to interview Chris Reitzman in Central Park, and he mentioned like, oh yeah, we had a cross-load. I was like, what's a cross-load? And he was like, oh, you can't bring trucks in the city, and so when we leave here tonight at like fucking 1 a.m, we got to go back to Jersey, unload this shit, put it back in the truck, and then we can leave.
Right.
And I was like, oh my god, dude. Nobody knows that shit.
Your job's hard enough. Now add that on top of it.
Right. And, I had also the experience, and obviously I've talked to enough people, I know this shit, but the facade for the general public, the civilians who are like, oh, man, it must be glamorous, you're out on the road and blah, blah, blah. You know as well as I do, right? Like I go and spend a night here and there with the Magpie Salute, whatever lets me help, load in and load out and shit like that because they're my guys. And I go home like, fuck, I'm fucking tired. But I go home to my bed next to my wife, right? And my coffee in the morning.
And you don't have to do it tomorrow.
But that's what I'm saying. And then you sit there and I'm thinking, fuck, those motherfuckers have to get back inside that little trailer attached to the big bus that's cozy, but they're jamming the shit in the trailer that's awkwardly parked, so the cases are kind of tilting back, for like the next 6 months or whatever the hell it is. Like that's what they do. And that's when I think you start realizing like, wow, this is not that glamorous. Glamour is from 8 to 9 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
And then, but even at 8:45, you're already starting to strip shit down, pack it back up, do it again. So it's all for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And you're still working. Like that's the work.
Yeah.
You're unloading, getting it ready, and then you work some more, and then you maybe sleep, and then you work some more.
Right.
That's what it is.
On the Kiss tour, when I was with Skid Row, Brett Perozzi was the other tech that was with me, and on days off, we did one-offs. We did clubs in that area, whatever. So it was a day off of the arena rock, But now we had to downsize everything we're doing in arena rock and set it up on that stage.
Yeah.
And then think about, oh shit, now we're back in the arena. All right, let's get these guitars out. Now we got to go change the tuning. We're in a different, now it's winter in the Fargo Dome.
Right.
Everything changes. So it's nonstop. It's 24/7.
Yeah.
You try and grab as much sleep as you can and you move on.
Yeah. I think the other thing too early on that when talking to Doug Redler, guitar tech, was that like everyone's got their home gigs. So he'd be at 30th Street Guitars in between gigs with the Crows or B-52s, whoever that was. But then he'd, get home exhausted and then he'd go work in a shop. And that to me was like, oh shit. So if you're like some kid off the street who plays guitar and you're bringing your instrument to a place, don't treat those techs like, just fix my guitar, dude, because you don't know who that is. Like that's, Rich Robinson's guy or whoever it is. Same thing with audio engineers, right? I mean, they're out on tour, they come back and they're the house person at this club.
Right.
Right. And it's funny. I met John Roper is the audio lead here for Power Station Events, is putting this event on. And I ran into him this morning when I was waiting for you. And I was like, how's the night? He's like, dude, we have one mic cable. He's like, we're stretched thin because we're doing this event and we also have the Hartford Marathon happening. So the warehouse is empty. And he goes, I haven't seen a bad mic cable in probably a year and a half. And he goes, and one bad mic cable on our stage last night was causing problems across the board, And he's like, a fucking mic cable. But it never ends, right? The adventure never ends.
Yeah.
But they figured it out. They got it done. Pulled the show off.
That's it. That's it. That's part of it. And to do that and to pull the show off and I kind of pride myself on I always strive to be flawless. No interruptions. Guitars are in tune. Monitors were good. For hardcore punk rock as good as they could be.
Yeah.
Even when I worked for Snake of Skid Row, he was a pretty demanding but very easy guy. And there was those times in the arena where it was chilly. And the acoustic 12-string comes out, and there's one string that's, and he just cringes his eyes, and he looks back at me, and I'm like, fuck, that really bothered me, right? So Ted Nugent's tech at the time, Dean Mitchell, out of Green Bay, would come over to me and he's like, dude, let me tell you how to fix this for next time, right? And took me under his wing and showed me some tips, and so it didn't happen again.
Yeah.
And you strive yourself, bad mic cable. Okay, you know what? You got a bad mic cable. You better have 2 or 3 extra cables next to that one. So if it happens, it's a quick thing.
Yeah.
Tom Weber, who is an amazing guitar player, tech for Eddie Van Halen, I love it. He's got a huge thing. Awesome guy. He would say to me, I'm the guy that when shit blows up, you don't know. Right. So that he's so valuable with that shit.
Yeah.
Especially with the guys he was with Poison for so many years, and he would have literally 12, 14 amps, at his fingertips ready to go and just
backups for the backups.
What if you got backups for the backups?
Yeah.
That's part of it, right? Learning how to not get caught.
What do you miss most today as you look back?
I miss the travel, and I love to travel. And my fiance Stephanie and I, we travel a lot now, and I learned a lot from traveling with the bands. Bagpipes, fuck! I always want to be a bagpipe tech. Where's the bagpipe tech? I want to talk to that guy. That's amazing, right?
I love that. As we start bringing this to a close, I love we got bagpipes in the background.
But I love the travel part. I love seeing new things. I love meeting new people, going new places, right? So I was very blessed to go to these different parts of the world.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I'll go to a couple of shows and see my friends, and I'm like, man, we'll go backstage and we'll sound check, and we're having a good time, and I'm like, wow, I really miss this camaraderie and this brotherhood on the road, and I miss these guys. And then it's like 10:30, 11 o'clock, and they're not even on stage. And I'm like, fuck, this sucks. I don't want to go home. I'm too old for this shit. Yeah. And I'm not. I'm 50. But that's what I miss. I miss the camaraderie. I miss my brothers. I miss meeting new people. I just got reconnected with a friend that I did a show with Skid Row. We went to Sweden for the weekend in Umeå with the band Europe. Right. And it was 1 hour of darkness, but the people were awesome to us. They treated us well. And I met some people, and we went out after the show and had a couple drinks, and amazing time. I miss those connections and meeting new friends and those relationships and building that roadie community.
Yeah.
Connecting the New York roadies with the LA roadies, with the European roadies, with the Asian roadies. And that's what I miss. And that's what I'm trying to do with this film and this TV show is I want to be kind of a leader in the roadie movement.
Yep.
And I want to just keep it going and give the proper accolades to these guys that aren't. I want to be their voice, right? I want to say thank you and make everybody else aware of what they're doing so that we can go and enjoy a show and you could take your son and your family to go enjoy live entertainment.
Yep.
It's not like it used to be in the day. So people need to be aware of what my brothers are doing out there. And I'm hoping to do that in a positive way, tell a positive message and get the point across. And I hope with this film, it's a good start.
Dude, that's awesome. TJ Hoffman, 150 episodes down.
Thank you very much.
In the can.
Hey, let me ask you something.
Yes.
Roadie Free Radio. Is it Roadie, free radio?
No, it's just Roadie Free Radio.
Yeah, but Roadie Free, like you're not roadie free. You're indulged. You're engulfed in roadies. There's no roadie free anything,
It ain't fucking free for me, man.
That's awesome. When I saw that, it made me think a little bit.
Or are you asking like why?
Yeah, why roadie free?
Right?
What is that?
Sort of like that community, by the people for the people idea.
Awesome.
Like pirate radio type of idea.
Well, thank you for doing this podcast and being a voice for those guys that are out on the road making it happen that can't do what you do or can't do what I do. I'm very blessed and fortunate that I can be here to tell this story. And coming from another filmmaker and a guy on the road, I enjoy your show. I enjoy your podcast. I love the stories. Thank you for doing what you do.
That's very
Mr.
kind.
Milburn.
I appreciate that, Mr. Hoffman. And to everybody listening and to the 149 previous guests, I mean, I can't thank you enough, man. This has been an incredible journey. Like I said at the beginning, I can't believe I've done 150 of these, and I can't wait to do at least 150 more.
Awesome.
And to all the sponsors, previous as well as Boulevard Carol, Airturn, Telefunken, Show Pro Beard Co., Stagehands Clothing, thank you all so much. And to all the listeners out there around the world, I want to thank you guys as well. Roadie, my documentary will be out this fall.
Thank you, Larry.
You bet, buddy.
Cheers.
Hey, another big thank you to TJ Hoffman for being my 150th guest. And guys, if you text Roadie Film to 555-888, that's Roadie Film to 555-888, you will have access to exclusive content of TJ's film, Roadie, my documentary. So head over and do that. Roadie Film to 555-888. We will see you next week for episode 151. You can follow us in the meantime at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify, all as Roadie Free Radio. Check out the website, roadiefreeradio.com, and send me a note because you know I want to hear from you. That's info@roadiefreeradio.com. And as always, my friends, y'all be safe out there. No roadies, no rock and roll.